The sun hung low over the Crystal Kingdom, the last remaining light reflecting off the large crystalline castle centered in the middle of it. Cadence took in a long, deep breath of the cooling air and rested her hooves on top of the balcony railing. Today had been a long and exciting, if not anxiety-inducing day. Today was the day of Flurry Heart's coronation. Many months of preparation had finally borne fruit as her beloved daughter had taken up the role of ruler of the Crystal Kingdom, allowing Cadence herself to step down, just like Celestia and Luna had many decades prior. It had not seemed so long ago that Cadence herself was taking on the role of princess and ruler of the Crystal Kingdom, and now here was her daughter following in her hoofsteps. If only Shining Armor could see how far she had come. The thought made her heart seize up, and a lump formed in her throat. Even after all this time, it hurt to think about all the things he had missed out on, and would miss out on in the future. Sighing, she turned her gaze from the darkening horizon and instead watched in the distance at a nearby tower. There she could faintly spot Twilight, horn glowing as she performed her duty of lowering the sun and raising the moon. The tower had been made specifically for her for when she visited both herself and Flurry Heart, even though Twilight did not have nearly as much time to visit as she did when she was simply the Princess of Friendship. As darkness began to envelop the kingdom and its denizens like a velvet cloak, a small sound caught her ear.
Cadence.
Bear's ear twitched, and she pulled her eyes away from the tower, just as Twilight walked back inside, her duty of the night now fulfilled. Cadence looked around her. The whisper was soft, as if carried by the wind and into her ears. But there was no pony around, no guards, no citizens, not even Flurry Heart, who was most likely exhausted after the day's events, or still enjoying the party.
You're just tired, Cadence,
she said with a small shake of her head.
Today was a busy and tiring day, and maybe a bit emotionally draining.
She added with a small chuckle. It was no surprise that Cadence had broken down once she and Flurry Heart, when the crowning ceremony had finished. Many tears were shed and hugs were given between the mother and daughter, only stopping when Twilight had found them to give Flurry Heart her own congratulations and shared hugs. Closing her eyes, she reflected on the day's events, helping Flurry get ready, greeting Twilight and the other royals, her speech and crowning of the new ruler of the Crystal Kingdom, hugging Flurry and telling her how proud her father would have been of her.
Mom?
Cadence jumped at the soft voice from behind her, too caught up in her own thoughts to have heard the hoofsteps approaching from behind. Turning to face her daughter, she laughed, seeing how disheveled the poor mare was. Flurry's mane, which looked similar to the mane style Cadence had once worn when greeting the Equestrian Games Inspector, was tousled, with strands falling free from the intricate braids and curls, crystals hanging loosely from said strands, or missing altogether. One silver shoe was missing, her dress was rumpled, and Cadence saw what looked like a wine stain on the front.
My, it looks like you had some fun tonight,
Cadence giggled, turning around fully to face her daughter.
I'm assuming every pony is turning in for the night.
Yeah,
Flurry Heart said with a sheepish grin. Stepping closer, she joined her mother at the railing of the balcony that overlooked the rest of the kingdom.
Was your coronation party as big as this?
Cadence tilted her head.
Well, it was mostly the before that was crazy, with fighting Sombra and everything. The party afterwards was the more relaxing and calm part of it all.
She grinned.
And I don't think I need to remind you of your crystalling,
she teased.
Cadence.
Flurry's cheeks turned pink, and she looked away.
No, you, Dad, and Auntie Twilight told me one too many times what happened that day.
And we'll still remind you for the rest of our lives.
Cadence laughed, gently nudging Flurry's shoulder. Flurry groaned in response. The younger mare was her height now, and might get even taller in time. With Flurry Heart being the first naturally born alicorn since Celestia and Luna, no one knew how her physical growth would be, including the princesses themselves. In the beginning, she seemed to grow like any other filly or foal, until she reached her 20s, when her aging seemed to have slowed to less than a crawl. That was 30 years ago, and she still looked the same age as she did then. Propping herself up on the railing, Flurry Heart's gaze moved to the horizon, now blanketed with stars. A sad, pensive look was on her face.
I wish Dad was here,
she whispered, her voice thick with withheld emotion. Cadence frowned and rested her cheek against the side of her daughter's head.
I know, sweetheart. I wish he was here too.
Cadence replied, voice soft with sympathy. Cadence. The whisper again, louder now. Her ear swiveled, trying to pick up where the voice was coming from, but she could not pinprick a specific direction. Was she really so tired that she was hearing things?
But I know that he would be so proud of you, and so am I.
Cadence pulled away to cup Flurry's cheek with one gold hoof and smiled warmly. A warmth grew in her chest, the love for her daughter spreading like a comforting flame from her heart. A love strong enough that it alone could power the crystal heart flame. A shout reverberated through her ears and deep into the recesses of her mind. Accompanying the voice was now a strange pull, as if an invisible fishing line was attempting to reel her somewhere. Her chest felt warm, like a small candle was located just inside her heart.
Mom, are you okay?
Flurry asked, concern obvious in her voice.
Oh yes, I'm fine.
Cadence took one more look at the sky before turning her gaze back to Flurry.
I think I'm just getting tired, sweetheart. I think it's time I turn in for the night.
Giving her a reassuring smile and a kiss on the forehead, Cadence left, leaving her daughter alone. Cadence's hooves echoed in the empty halls of the castle. By now, many of the staff and guests had gone to bed, and there was only a scarce guard placed here and there. Torches burned in their holders, casting long shadows onto the walls and tapestries. She did not know exactly where she was going, instead letting the unknown voice and invisible pull lead her. With each step, the voice, now multiplicity speaking in different tones, got louder, and the warmth in her chest got stronger.
What's going on?
She muttered, lifting a hoof to rub at her head. She was half tempted to go to Twilight and get her advice, but she knew the other princess deserved her rest after such a long day. Whatever this was, it could not be nearly as bad as Sombra or the Changelings or Flurry's magical baby tantrums. No, she was still an alicorn. She could handle this. And if she could not, Twilight was only a few wing beats away.
Cadence. Come.
Heart?
The pink mare paused, her mind quickly running over every possibility.
The crystal heart?
Was it in trouble? That couldn't be right. Nothing had threatened the kingdom in decades. Why would the heart be in trouble now? Nevertheless, she picked up her pace, half running toward the front doors where the crystal heart floated just beyond the threshold. The cool night air greeted her when she stepped into the courtyard. Stars twinkled in the sky, and only a few houses had their lights still on. The crystal heart rotated in a gentle circle in the center, the blue crystal emanating a soft glow. Remnants of the love that it had absorbed thanks to the day's events. Cadence frowned as she approached. Nothing looked out of place. No cracks, scratches, or weird markings on it. The voice could not be talking about this heart, right? Humming curiously, she circled the crystal heart, eyeing it up and down.
I don't get it.
She placed a gentle hoof on its surface.
Nothing's wrong. Why here?
The crystal heart felt strangely warm under her touch, most likely from the magic love stored inside it. Many decades ago, she had stood here with shining armor, Twilight, and her friends as she was crowned the newest ruler after King Sombra's defeat. The ponies that had helped her that day were gone now, their descendants now the only things left of them. The mysterious voice echoed again, and Cadence stomped her hoof with slight frustration.
This is the heart.
She huffed to no pony, tail flicking in annoyance. If any pony saw her right now, they'd wonder if she had lost her mind. And right now, she was sort of feeling like she was.
I don't understand what you're talking about, or who you even are for that matter.
She sighed and rubbed her temples, brow furrowing.
Breathe, Cadence. Whatever's going on might just be stress from the past few months. You just need sleep.
With a shake of her head, she made to turn back toward the double doors and go upstairs for some much-needed rest. But instead, she found herself turning to the right toward a path branching off from the courtyard. There was only one place that path would lead to.
Okay,
the princess murmured before setting off down the cobbled path. Each step caused the lump in her throat to grow. Cadence herself visited this path often, as did Flurry, Twilight, and many citizens of the kingdom. It wasn't a scary place, or somewhere forbidden, but with the voices urging her and a mysterious force leading, no, pulling her toward it. These made the final destination much more chilling. A tall square building made of onyx loomed over Cadence, almost a silhouette against the dark and starry sky. The mare rubbed her front leg with the other, almost hesitant to go inside. She had visited this building many times, as had many others who resided in the kingdom, but each time she came, it got harder and harder to return, especially as the years passed. With a slightly trembling hoof, Cadence pushed the iron gate open. It swung silently, as if any sound would wake the eternally slumbering souls within. Illuminating her horn in a light blue glow, and taking a deep breath to steady her nerves, Cadence walked inside, the iron gate swinging shut behind her. Large, dark alcoves lined the walls of the staircase. Crystal caskets, emblazoned with cutie marks on the locks and lids, laying inside. The mausoleum was quiet, save for the clip-clop of Cadence's hooves against the onyx steps. Before Cadence had become the ruler of the Crystal Kingdom, the mausoleum had not been used. During Sombra's banishment, the entire kingdom had been frozen in time, thus the need for such a place had become obsolete. This was easily indicated by the faded markings on the tops of the caskets, as well as the layers of dust that seemed to be thicker on the lids toward the top of the stairs, and thinner on the lids the further down one travelled. Cadence was headed toward the bottom, not because she chose to, but because of the invisible thread that was pulling her toward the end of the staircase, to the final casket, the most important casket.
Hi, Shining.
Before her, in the center of the room, lay a large, deep, sapphire casket. The familiar cutie mark of a shield with a bright pink sparkle in the center could easily tell some pony who was inside. A bouquet of partially wilted flowers had been placed next to the cutie mark, left over from their wedding anniversary. Despite being made of crystal, she could not see through to the body of the pony lying inside. Not that she would want to. She liked to remember her late husband during the prime of his life, not lying sick in their bed, blue mane streaked with white, wrinkles on his handsome face, and several wires connecting to various parts of his body. For years she had pleaded with Celestia and Luna to make shining armor and alicorn like herself and their daughter. But time and time again she had been told it was impossible. Cadence sat down in front of the casket and ran a hoof over its smooth surface.
I wish you were here, Shining. You would have been so proud of Flurry today.
She smiled as she thought back to Flurry's coronation and the happiness that swelled inside her chest when the crown was placed upon her head.
It would have made the day all the more special if you were here.
She leaned forward, the tip of her horn touching the polished crystal.
I miss you so much.
She could not hold back a small sob. Why did the voice lead her here? There was no point, unless the thing that it belonged to just wanted to torture her. Gritting her teeth, Cadence whipped her head up.
What are you talking about?
She snarled, ears pinned back.
There's nowhere else to go.
She walked to the other side of the coffin, eyes scanning the wall. Her horn glowed brighter, illuminating the perfectly smooth stonework with its bluish glow. Or it would have been perfectly smooth if it wasn't for the slightly round indentation in the wall's surface. Cadence tilted her head and peered at it closely. It looked like the exact size of her own hoof.
How long has that been there?
She wondered aloud.
I don't remember it being here when we...
She chewed her lip in thought. It definitely had not been there. She was sure of it. Or maybe it was, and she just never noticed it. As if pulled by an invisible string, Cadence lifted her hoof and pressed it into the indentation. She wanted to do that, right? Of course she did. She wanted to see what was beyond this wall, and to see who or what was calling her. For a few moments, nothing happened. Cadence lowered her hoof with a sigh.
Now what?
The wall shuddered, and a large, bright blue crack split the obsidian cleanly in two. Veins of similar blue light, magic from what Cadence could feel, spread across both sides, reaching up into the far corners of the dark room. Looking closer, she could see the veins twisting and curling into pulsating hearts. Then, with another earth-trembling shudder, the wall began to move apart, each side sliding into a hidden slot on either side of the room. Beyond it lay a curved cavern with torches with blue flames lining the dark walls. The light from Cadence's horn dimmed before flickering out completely. The voice, no, voices, called out to her. They sounded desperate, excited, eager. She was so close now, just beyond this cavern. Before Cadence could take a moment to steady herself, her body moved forward into the cavern. This was not like following the voice willingly through the castle to the mausoleum, or placing her hoof on the hoof-shaped indentation. Her legs were moving on their own, carrying her unwillingly down the barely illuminated path. A sense of dread began to creep through her and settle deep within her chest the further she ventured inside.
No! Stop!
She cried out, eyes widening as she stared down at her own hooves. She tried to get her legs to obey, but it was as if they had a mind of their own, completely separate from the pony they belonged to. The flames flickered bluish shadows across the terrified pony's face, her eyes darting around, looking for anything or any pony laying in ambush. But there was nothing but the flickering shadows, the echoes of her hoofsteps, and the growing cacophony of voices in her head, overlapping each other as they drowned out the sound of her own heartbeat in her ears. They sounded excited, all unable to let one another talk clearly, making it impossible to concentrate on one single voice or figure out what they were saying. At some point, Cadence felt the floor begin to slope downwards, but even then her pace did not falter. In fact, it actually seemed to quicken, like her body was eager to get to the end. All the while, her mind raced, trying to come up with any reasonable explanation for what was going on, why she was being led, taken to an unknown destination. The most logical at first had been exhaustion and stress caused by Flurry Heart's coronation, but now something else had to be at play. It felt like eternity before the slope leveled out and Cadence rounded one final corner, that finally her legs stopped moving. Her voice came out in a strangled whisper as her eyes took in the sight of the newly discovered room. An enormous cylindrical structure stood in the center of a vast cavern. From Cadence's perspective, the ominous structure wasn't exactly smooth. In fact, it appeared rather lumpy, with what looked like grey stones at the bottom and dull-coloured crystals the further up she looked. A thin blue light shone from the top and disappeared at a point in the ceiling, and although it was thin, it was able to create enough light for the princess to see by.
Cadence, you're here!
The voices were the clearest now than they had been back on the balcony and in the mausoleum. She could hear many distinct voices now, of varying ages and genders, different pitches and tones.
Cadence, you're here.
Here?
Cadence echoed, unable to look away from the pillar.
What is here?
The heart.
The heart.
This is the heart of the Crystal Kingdom.
She blinked in surprise.
The heart? No, that's not possible. The crystal heart is up there, in the courtyard, where it always is.
It is true. That is the crystal heart. But here lies the true heart of your kingdom. The heart that gives the crystal heart its power. The power that has kept it safe during the reign of Sombra.
But that was the love from the kingdom's citizens that helped keep the heart safe.
She paused.
Wasn't it?
Yes. And no.
The voices spoke calmly.
While their love kept the heart safe, it was not enough. Not without us.
Us?
Cadence asked.
Who's us?
It has been a long time since any pony has talked of us. We had all but been erased from history once King Sombra had taken reign. In a subsequent defeat, the citizens of the Crystal Empire only remember us in books. If those books are still around, that is.
So you're...
She gasped.
The past rulers of the Crystal Empire? But how?
Cadence felt her body being pulled forward once more, this time towards the glowing pillar. The closer she got, the more detail she could make out. The lumpy shapes came more into focus. The tip of a nose, the curve of a flank, curls and swirls of frozen manes and tails. Cadence's blood ran cold. This was not just a pillar of stones and crystals. This was a pillar of frozen ponies, all shapes and sizes, and mostly earth ponies or unicorns, with the occasional Pegasus stacked in layers upon layers, stretching up towards the ceiling. All were laying down with their eyes closed, as if they were sleeping, but their heads were tilted upwards toward the ceiling, towards the beam of light.
This is the fate of all rulers of the Crystal Kingdom. While our citizens will succumb to death, and their love will fade with them, we, the rulers, will not. We give our lives to the Crystal Heart, and therefore our kingdom. When King Sombra controlled the land, it was our love that kept it safe. When the kingdom was hidden from the world, it was our love that powered the heart and kept our citizens safe. It is the duty of all of us to protect our kingdom and citizens after our time is done.
But my time isn't done? I'm not sick or dying or...
Your time as Princess of the Crystal Kingdom is over, correct? Your daughter's coronation makes her the new princess. Your time as ruler is over.
No!
They could not be suggesting. Her eyes scanned over the pillar of ponies, and ice gripped her heart.
I'm not joining you! I have a daughter! I have a sister! I have ponies who still need me!
Her wings flared out in anger.
Your daughter will rule over the Crystal Kingdom for many years, and your sister over Equestria for even longer. Both kingdoms will flourish and be protected until the next rulers are selected, and they will flourish without you.
Cadence's rear hoof crossed the threshold of the cavern's entrance. If she could turn and run, send out a signal to Twilight. Join us, Princess Cadence. The words exploded in her mind, and she fell to her knees. All at once, she lost feeling in her limbs.
Without your love, the Crystal Heart will be left vulnerable. The defeat of Sombra and your daughter's crystalline only supplied enough magic until her coronation. But now, you must give yourself to the heart.
Cadence's front leg shifted, then her right. Soon, she was standing upright, facing the pillar. She began to walk toward it again.
No!
Cadence's mind screamed, frantically trying to gain control of her body. This time, however, her entire body was under the voice's control. The heart's control.
I can't! Flurry! Twilight! I can't leave them behind!
There was still so much to experience with her daughter. She had never ventured into her own journey of love, and had only just taken up the crown. Flurry had already lost her father. She could not lose her mother, too. She'd need guidance and support in her future endeavors, just like Cadence had needed Celestia. And Twilight. They had gotten so much closer after her and Shining Armor's wedding. They had been able to lean on each other after taking up their respective thrones, and consoled each other after the death of the stallion they had both loved so dearly. Losing Cadence as well, one of the last remaining parts of her family, would crush her.
Join us, Princess Cadence.
Flurry! Twilight!
Tears sprung to Cadence's eyes as her hoof found purchase on the first petrified pony's head. With the way they were layered, it would be an easy climb to the top.
Do not fight, Cadence. Your love will help power the heart and protect every pony. Protect your daughter.
Shining! Please! Help me!
Cadence sobbed, limbs moving like a puppet's. One hoof in front of the other, pulling her closer towards the top. The ponies began to change in color and texture, changing from smooth and grey-colored stone to multiple dull hues and more rough edges. All the colors of the rainbow danced along her coat as she climbed upwards. Giving them a closer glance, she could see their tails and flanks had fused into a blue crystal, similar to the same crystal that stood in the kingdom's courtyard.
I don't want to! I can't leave them!
Cadence squeezed her eyes shut the closer the top came into view. Memories of days long past flashed across her mind. Meeting Twilight and Shining Armor for the first time. The young stallion asking her on a date with a small bouquet of flowers between his teeth, cheeks pink with a blush, and a shy smile between the pink and purple flowers. The first I love yous exchanged between them, spoken in soft whispers while curled up on a cozy couch in front of a fire. Their wedding, Cadence's coronation, the pregnancy announcement and eventual birth of Flurry Heart. Every moment of every day with her husband and daughter. Each memory made her heart swell with love, enveloping her body in a tingling warmth. She tried to shut them out, to make her mind go blank. This was what they wanted, for her to be filled with so much love when whatever was about to happen, happened.
Twilight, please.
Her hooves stood flat on top of the pillar. The beam of light was actually made of several beams, all extending from the uppermost crystallized ponies and converging at the top. Tilting her head up, she could see a piece of light blue crystal sticking down from the ceiling of the cavern. It looked oddly similar to the pedestal the crystal heart stood upon in the courtyard. The voices spoke soothingly.
Cadence, take your place on us. Protect the heart.
Cadence walked into the center, head tilted up like the ponies underneath her. Her hooves became harder to lift, like she was stuck in thick mud.
Please, take care of Flurry Heart for me.
She sat down in the center, wings flared out. She could feel her body protest, trying to pull her towards the edge, to assume a position like other ponies. But she would not. With the last of her strength, she would defy them. Cadence wasn't just the prior queen, lured to be an eternal power source until her poor daughter came to join her. No, she was a mother, a sister, a wife, a friend.
I love you, Flurry Heart. I love you, Twilight.
Her legs went numb, and a quick glance down told her why. Her back legs had become encased in a light pink crystal, the same color as her coat, with said legs fusing to the top of the pillar. Her spot had been chosen for her. Cadence's head was quickly forced back up as a blue magic beam began to glow on her chest, directly over her heart. The light was almost blinding. The crystal continued to grow, soon encasing her back legs, then her tail, steadily moving up her stomach to her chest. A single tear rolled down her cheek, though it was unable to fall before it, too, turned to crystal. With a sigh and closing of her eyes, Princess Mi Amore Cadenza was no more. Above ground, the crystal heart shone brightly, briefly illuminating the deserted courtyard. Twilight lay in her bed, a book propped up against a pillow, and a cup of tea sitting on her nightstand. Today had been a long day with Flurry Heart's coronation, so settling down with a good book and a cup of tea before bed was a perfect way to end the night. A glow of pink magic enveloped the teacup, bringing it to Twilight's lips for a sip. Suddenly, something shifted. Lowering the cup back onto its saucer, Twilight frowned and looked out toward the open balcony overlooking the courtyard. She could not tell what it was exactly, but something felt wrong. Closing her eyes, Twilight focused, sending tendrils of invisible magic along the expanse of the kingdom, checking every nook and cranny for something. But it was what, or actually who, was missing that gave her pause. She could not find her, but could still feel and sense her presence. Cadence?